At the heart of the automation trend in telecoms is the interaction between artificial intelligence and data. And to find out how BT is using its vast volumes of data to advance the introduction of automated processors, I'm talking today with Gilbert Owusu, Data and AI Director, Corporate Units and Networks at BT Digital. So Gilbert, thanks for joining us today. Can you tell us briefly about your role at BT Digital?
Sure, Ray. So my responsibility is twofold. The first is to provide easy access to good quality data for my colleagues in corporate units and networks. And then the second is using AI to extract value. And this is looking at maximizing transformational value, which is expressed in our case as business value and societal value.
Okay, great. So what are the main applications of AI in telecoms that you're working on and developing currently?
We have been using AI to augment decision making and automate our processing and tasks for a number of years now. However, these have been point solutions. What we have started doing with our digital transformation program is to scale this up and also being cloud first, data first. We are looking at maximizing more out of AI across the group. But just to highlight some of the work that we've done to date, when we are building the fiber network, we use AI to optimize the design. We use AI to help with optimizing capacity in our core network. We use AI in our service delivery function. So when customers call, offering them appointment slots, making sure that we can offer them slots that we know with a degree of confidence can honor. All this is underpinned by AI, by predicting demand, optimizing capacity, and then of course, ensuring that we have available capacity to give to our customers. We use AI in deploying spares across the country so that we can optimize, again, travel. We've been using AI to help with nuisance calling and in our cybersecurity space. More recently, we have been looking at how AI can help with energy management. So BT consume nearly 1% of UK's electricity. So making sure that we optimize energy utilization is key for us, and also in the software engineering space. And the other use cases that we are exploring as well, next best action is one of them, how we can better serve our customers so that when they call our agents, knowing how to optimize the experience for them is a key thing that we are also looking at the moment, really.
Okay, so lots of really interesting applications there. And you mentioned power consumption. What kind of impact could the deployment of AI tools have on network energy management and consumption?
Sure, AI has potential to do good when it comes to energy, but then there is a negative impact as well. So training models, AI models, is energy intensive. So a lot of work is going into making sure that the right hardware is in place to do these sort of activities. But where AI can help with managing energy, we can use historical data to better predict weather, mainly in renewable energy because they are fairly intermittent. Okay, so that these prediction models can help with determining when to store energy, either from solar or wind. Okay, and also we can use AI optimization techniques to help optimize the search space in terms of understanding the features of solar and wind energy, and with a view of maximizing the yield from a parcel of land. Again, AI can be used to help minimize energy consumption when demand is fairly low across our network. And this is something that we've been looking at within BT. We are using AI to help with compacting our network, making sure that we can swap out old kit for new. And the way we're going about doing this is building an energy digital twin of our network so that we can, with a degree of confidence, understand energy usage, from a service through a rack in our data centers, in our exchanges, down to the port on a rack. Okay, the cards in the rack. Understand the energy utilization there so that we can optimally go about compacting our network. So these are some of the things that we've been doing. We also are the second largest fleet operator in the UK. We have a plan to transition to electric vehicles by 2035. This will have an impact on our exchanges because most of these vehicles, there will be charging points across the country in our exchanges to charge the batteries in these vehicles. So one of the things that we are looking at is how to go about optimizing the way our engineers charge their vehicles.
Okay, really interesting stuff, and a great use of the digital twin there to analyze energy consumption. Now, what is the optimum approach these days for network data collection and processing for an operator such as BT? Are data lakes still applicable?
Well, data lakes are still applicable, Ray, because to date, we still have a number of people across not just BT, but across many organizations spending a lot of time curating data and getting data in shape for decision making and even to be able to exploit what AI has to offer. So data lakes are very, very needed. And I'll just highlight a few examples to illustrate why this is required. So building the network, inventory data, good quality inventory data is required to be able to optimize the design process. We need to make sure that we have all this available in one place for our planners to use. When customers call, especially in the case of convergence, where they have multiple products on different technology stacks, making sure that an agent has a single view of the customer, it's key. This will need to be pulled into a data lake. Again, if there is a fault that touches across multiple systems, harnessing that data into one place is key, makes life easier for the agent to be able to engage with the customer meaningfully. So data and lakes are definitely required. And we have been building data products within BT around key core entities. Okay, so I mentioned the customer, providing a 360 view of the customer, the network. So I touched on the digital twin concept. So again, there's something that we are looking at or embarking on at the moment, and to make sure that we have a digital twin of our network that would help with remote diagnostics and will also help when we are engaging with our customers. And of course, there are a number of ways to do that. The cloud platforms help us in this regard, and making sure that either we stream or batch load data has been instrumental there. But one thing I would like to flag, Ray, is that there are a number of vendors in this space. But in terms of making sure that organizations like ourselves, have a sustainable capabilities in place, I think is a challenge that needs to be addressed holistically. Because what seems to be happening is that we embark on one technology stack, and in a few years' time, something else comes along, and you have to restart and so on. So across the industry, to be very helpful to understand what can be deployed, which will be sustainable when it comes to managing data assets.
Okay, interesting. And I'm sure that's a challenge that a lot of other large organizations are seeing as well. So with that in mind, to what extent is an operator like BT developing its own applications and tools for data management and analytics, if at all? Or is the market able to provide the functionality you need?
So it is both. No organization can do it alone. We still need vendors. There is a big role that vendors play in this space. So we have, there is a decision tree, choosing when to do it in-house or to get a vendor to do. It's informed by, of course, the business needs, the skills within the company. Total cost of ownership, it's another thing that needs to be borne in mind, and whether it aligns with the strategy in terms of maximizing our competitive advantage and the like. But one thing I will flag, Ray, is that most of these products for data management tend to, the question we need to ask ourselves is that they have been in the market, available to us for a number of years. But why is it that there are still issues when it comes to managing data across organizations like ourselves? I think maybe it's not just the tool per se, but there could be an angle to do with how organizations are transformed or embedding data management principles when we embark on new transformational programs, just like we are at the moment. Or the question is, how do you retrofit? So for existing stack, what happens to those programs? And I think this is where there is a lot of pain or failed projects, in my point of view. We've also observed that the landscape of data management is changing. You have AI, we touched on those earlier on, and data. Separating the models from the data, it's going to be a challenge, because if one needs to prove what an AI is doing, you need to go back to the data. So I think the whole concept of data management is morphing into data and AI management. And we need to ask ourselves whether existing vendors are actually, in a position to offer some of these services to us. So in BT, as I mentioned, we build, AI applications ourselves, and also with vendors where appropriate. We have data products that enable us to, or building data products that will enable us to do this at scale.
Okay, really interesting insights, Gilbert. Thank you. And finally, what developments and innovations would most help you in your role during the next few years? What can make the biggest difference to your job?
I think standards. I'll call out standards. We talked about AI earlier on. Standards regarding how vendors handle buyers. Okay, and making sure that they can explain the models that they are selling. It's key. We do have a number of vendors knocking at our door regularly to sell us their wares. Question is, how do we know whether what they are selling ticks all the boxes they claim to be presenting to us? So the analogy we use is, if you buy white goods, there is an energy sticker clearly stating the expected energy consumption of the equipment. We will need something similar for AI goods, so that we know exactly what is it that it's being bought. And the second area I'll flag is data. Of course, to make the most of AI, data it's key. But an organization wouldn't have all the data, and mostly in the utility space and operators like ourselves, we are dependent on other companies to make sure that we can maximize whatever it is that we are doing for the customers. So case in point, when we are building our network, most of the time the other utilities that we'll need to interact with, sharing that data, it's key for a successful outcome for everyone. So having frameworks and policies in place that would encourage sharing of data across operators, utilities, would help enormously. And what within BT we have been doing is working with the National Digital Twin Program to see how this can be done. The National Digital Twin Program has the information management framework that they are pioneering. And we worked with them, Anglia Water, and UK Power Network on a demonstrator for COP26, really to understand the cascading effects of extreme weather conditions on our network. And that for us is the beginning. We won't see more of this happening going forward. And of course, skills underpin all these. And for us, being able to have the right skills to do the job, I've been recruiting, and people claim to have all sort of skills, but and maybe have attended a few courses. But I think accreditation programs, like we do have for professional bodies, like accountancies, we do, and so on and so forth, would help speed up the way we recruit, AI professionals to work on our programs.
Okay, great points to end on there. Gilbert, sounds like you have an absolutely fascinating job at BT Digital. Great to talk with you today. Thanks very much for joining us.
Pleasure, Ray.